Welcome back to the Crossway Youth podcast. We're here, episode 2 of season 2. It's a good start to the year. How you going, Sammy?
I'm doing well, thanks, Lockie. Really solid day so far today.
Yep.
We've got some nice black drapes for all our YouTube viewers. Nice and profesh up here in the studio. I'm rocking some new clothing today for all our YouTube viewers as well, which I'm sure we'll get to a little bit later in the episode. It looks very nice, if I don't say so myself.
Now, there's someone else.
You just heard them.
Side.
Yeah.
You did hear them. Our special guest today, because we're doing a year of special guests. That's our
apparently the season theme.
Unofficial theme of the season is special guests. Josh, why don't you tell us your name and a bit about yourself?
I was going to drum roll there, but already here.
Well, as Lockie just said, my name is Josh. I've been around CY for a long time. I'm the camp director this year, so looking forward to stepping into that role and having a great camp with you all.
Yeah.
And just an absolutely delicious looking hairstyle as well. Just everything about Josh.
You can say that.
Okay.
I'm not a mullet person in general.
You're not?
I'm not a mullet person in general, but you rock it in a way that you rock it. You know.
Thanks, Lockie. Yeah, cheers.
Do you think you would have to have like some sort of come to Jesus moment to go change hairstyles at this point? Because how long have you had the mullet at this length for, do you think?
Since September, 2 years ago. So
22.
Yeah,
September 22. Okay. Do you think it would have to be like, whoa, it wouldn't just be like a spur of the moment thing?
Yeah, it wouldn't just be a spur of the moment. It'd be, contemplated.
Yeah.
I have actually signed up to do mullets for mental health again in April this year.
Okay.
So we'll be staying at least until April.
Okay, great.
And there'll probably be some variation of it for April.
Yep.
I don't know what that is yet, but we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Teaser.
Yeah, a little
special
teaser.
Type of mullet.
Yeah, maybe if you donate enough money, you might get a say in it. That's all.
Whoa.
All I'm saying.
If I donate enough money, will you shave it all off and not get a mullet?
I feel like that goes against the fundraiser.
I'd like to get Sam written in the side of his, you know how you go short back and sides? If I donate enough money, we could write CY pod in the side of Josh's hair
the back,
or something.
Yeah.
No, I mean, across the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rate that as well.
Yeah, each to your own.
Yeah.
All right. So today, this episode has come out. Last night at CY, if you are a CY attendee or YouTube viewer, we launched our winter camp. Now, Sammy, you're a pastor here at Crossway Youth.
Apparently.
Part of which the Crossway Youth podcast originates from. Mm-hmm. I feel like I shouldn't necessarily be explaining that this far into the podcast, but if you're new and this is your first episode,
it might be new. It might be the first time we clicked on this.
That's true. Can you tell us a little bit what is winter camp? Is it one word? Is it two separate words? Is it winter space camp or one word? Why?
Sarah Hyphen.
What is it?
Yeah.
Contentious topic. We've had all of those options at various different points. We're currently rolling with the 2-word W uppercase lowercase c winter camp.
2-word.
2-word lowercase c camp.
Yep.
We went with 1 word. We went with double uppercase, and here's where we've landed. Trial and error. Winter camp is exactly what it says. It is a camp that happens in the winter. Here in Melbourne, Victoria, which is where Crossway Youth is located, it's kind of like our spiritual high point for the year, I guess you could say. I mean, I have done, this would be like my 4th camp that I've done as a staff member, but then I grew up at Crossway as a church, and so all the way throughout my teenage years, you similarly as well, all 3 of us at this table have been on a number of different of these winter camps, and it's really like that spiritual high point. So we go away in the winter and run a summer camp, basically, which, who thought of that idea? How did that even start? It's lovely, isn't it? It's also insane at various different points as well, jumping in the water and in the freezing cold mud, going down to the beach. We run it down at Phillip Island, which is kind of 2 hours south of Melbourne.
Yeah.
And it's just the best week of the year. It's the week that we all look forward to the most. We see God change people's lives. That's what we're passionate about here at Crossway Youth, is young people coming to know Jesus and changing and transforming. And that definitely happens on camp. For sure.
Yeah, my next question was, why do we do a summer camp in the winter?
What do you think makes what makes it so unique? Why is it such a vibe to do it in the winter?
I think, well, obviously the aspect of it being the summer camp in winter is we just do games on the oval in the mud, jump in the river or lake or whatever it is, down at Phillip Island. And I absolutely love it. I just think you get to go out, you get to have fun, you get to tackle your mates, your leader, in the mud, which to me is just a highlight of it. You know, it's 10 degrees or whatever it is down in Phillip Island, and you got to
at best, often colder than that. Yeah.
Probably colder than that. Yeah,
it's high of 10.
Yeah, max of 10 degrees. You know, but you just get to get out there and have fun, and just get muddy and wait in line for the shower as everyone else is trying to get all the mud off. But it's just a good excuse to do something a bit different in your holidays and have a good time with your mates and get them a bit muddy.
I also say it's just like summer activities with like 50% less sunburn.
That is true.
That's good if you're a big UV ray guy.
Yeah.
Like,
if you're a big susceptible to
I think all of us here
if you're very Caucasian is what we're trying to say, which all three of us definitely are. So that is one of the pros. We still go down to the beach though, even for our winter camp, depending on the tides, which is a weird thing to say, but we still go down to the beach and enjoy a beach day in the middle of winter.
A bit chilly.
Where it's right on the Southern Ocean there. So you
can't
see Antarctica from Phillip Island, but you can feel Antarctica from Phillip Island.
Especially down there. Yeah.
Oh. No, good. So for both of you, this is, for me, this will be my 11th winter camp, I think. How many of you boys been on? And is it the same hype every year?
You hit us up first. What do you got?
So are we counting like the little camps over COVID we didn't actually go down on?
Oh, so true.
Or not?
Okay, yeah.
I reckon we count online camp. I reckon 2020, if you're engaged through it, because that was our online camp. We did the streaming and everything. So I think include that.
Okay.
Yeah, for context, during the lockdowns, we didn't still get like
down to
400 people down to Phillip Island and wrestle each other
we
in the mud.
Love the law.
We did a fake online camp where we streamed for like a week straight.
It was real. It felt like a camp for those that were involved in the streaming.
Oh, for those who were here doing it, we'll count them.
Okay. So then in that case, I had 5 as a youth. I missed my year 11 one. And then 6? We didn't do 21, so it'd be 5 as a leader. So I've done 10 going into my 11th.
Is that the same as you? Did you just say this is about to be your 11th?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats, guys. Well done. That was cute.
Thank you.
I did every year in high school, so that's 6. And then I didn't actually lead a small group through after I finished. So I was off there for a few years. I visited as a staff member, but then this will be my 4th, so 10. So one less than you two, actually. So I'm a bit of a rookie here around this table.
Unlucky,
sorry.
Mate.
Amateur.
Back to your second question as well. Do the hype change? Do they feel different?
Yeah,
that was the question.
Different? Is it like, are you like, another one, 10 years?
Well,
or
first of all,
10 years in.
Absolutely not. I love camp every time it comes around. I think if it was like we have 4 camps a year, then maybe I would be like, okay, this is, I just recovered from the other one. And because so much goes into it, like we're recording this now in February, right? We're already well into the planning process for it. And it's not for it's not for another 4 or 5 months, that sort of thing. So it's a huge, big effort for the team involved. The hype is still equally the same. I think different parts of camp each time I get excited for as well. I love getting involved in the muddy games and being a bit silly on one of the days towards the end of the week. Because I think if you're in like a bit of a core team type environment, you spend a lot of time like doing the important things that need to happen,
all the
like
admin,
all the admin and calling some parents if they need to be called and all that sort of stuff. And it's a bit of a let your hair down type. I remember last year when I was kind of got involved in the muddy games on the final day, and I just absolutely was like knee sliding through the dirt. I think I'd stabbed myself with a twig on one of the knee slides, just like penguin sliding into the lake and things like that, just cutting loose. I love it.
Yeah.
Similar for you? The hype's the same?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my first one, I was like, I don't really know what I'm going into. I'm year 7. And I was kind of just coming in. I'm like, all right, it'll be a winter camp. I've seen all the videos and it looks hectic. But, when you go there, it's just on another level. Like the videos, highlight videos don't do it justice.
Check them out on YouTube, though.
Yeah.
highlight
They're all on our
videos.
Crossway Youth
They're
video,
all on the
yeah,
Crossway
yeah.
Youth
Yeah.
YouTube. Sorry, carry on.
No,
Just
you're
had
right.
to subtle plug,
Yeah, plug it.
Well, not so subtle plug. Just a straight up plug.
Very
Yeah.
obvious plug, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, well, as testified by the fact that I kept coming back, I loved it. I missed, actually, in year 9, I missed a week of holiday in Bali to come on camp. And in year 10, I missed a week of holiday in Fiji to come on camp.
Yeah, I opted out of family holidays to come as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I missed in year 11 was because I had another thing going on. I couldn't actually make it. But so I loved it. I just kept coming back. And then even as a leader, I thought it was so cool kind of, getting to have a week with my small group and really getting to, grow relationally with them and seeing what Jesus does in them. And, you know, my first one as a leader, a few of my boys got baptized straight out of that, which is so cool for me to see. And I love getting, muddy and dirtying into all the games as much as I did when I was in year 7. That's still a highlight. I love, tackling my boys. That's always a bit of a highlight as well. They keep telling me they can take me down, but they still haven't done it. So
Yet to. Prove them wrong, boys, if you're watching.
Yeah,
Prove them wrong
seriously.
this year. They're leaders now this year as well. So
Exactly.
Dangerous.
No child protection policy there.
what about for you?
For me,
Yeah.
I'm just always super hyped for it every
Yeah.
year. Like it's one of those weeks where you go into it with like so much expectation, being like, this is going to be the best thing ever. And you come out of it absolutely cooked, like sleep for 17 hours straight.
Yeah, literally.
And then you wake up and you're like, oh, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So immediately the day after you're like, ugh.
The day after you're like, don't talk to me.
Yeah. But then the day after that, you're like, oh, that was the best week ever.
When are we going back?
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where there's just like so many, to me, I'm like so many different things for everyone. Like I have, since I was a youth, like I've got cooked meat, so I don't do any of the games anymore. But like it's
Sounds
fine.
like a good excuse to me, Josh, doesn't it? Yeah.
Because there's other stuff that like I can do, like all the music stuff and things. And like to me, it's just the fact that there's so many different things that happen. It's not just the muddy games.
Yeah.
It's not just the the rallies and all that kind of stuff, or the small group time. It's like just everything. Yeah. The only thing that I would like say is I don't necessarily look forward to that every year is like a few of the camp meals.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which has given
We're coming in with the hot takes. I hope you're ready for it. See why.
I've perfectly segued myself into my next question, which is what are your for camp? We're doing a few mini icebreakers in the middle to keep you on your toes, listeners and guests. What is your favourite and least favourite winter camp meal at Phillip Island?
So we should preface this by saying it's a little bit of like almost like a cult following about like the type of food that we get on camp and just the discussion that exists around it. Like there were Instagram pages made about what food we were getting and like people rating the food and things like that. So it's a contentious topic.
Yeah.
And people fall on very different sides of this in like a polar opposite kind of way.
I know that there's one particular meal which most people I know are either like fully one way or fully the other. One of the camp meals.
Let's just go for it. What is it?
It's the like the jacket potatoes with all the fillings in them. You know when they cut it like 4 ways down.
I've got a really strong opinion about this. Do you have a strong opinion?
Cheese and stuff.
I feel like I'm for them. I like them.
But like just like or like really enjoy them.
Oh, not really. Like I reckon. Well, honestly, I used to like them more than I did currently, right?
Sure.
I've had some dietary changes lately, so I'm now vegan, and I don't get any of the bacon or cheese, or I don't get any coleslaw with the dressing. I just get like carrot and cabbage dry. So for me, honestly, right now they're not great, but like it's potato, it's filling, whatever. Well, it would have used to be better when you could have all of that stuff with sour cream and whatever. Yeah.
I mean, at a certain point, some of this is just related to like there's so much energy burning that you do on camp that really you're just about calorie intake. Yeah. Just like that's why in the leaders lounge, spoiler alert for everyone, when you become leaders, there is a leaders lounge.
Wow.
And there has to be just like up and goes and muesli bars in there all the time because you just have to get calories into your body because it's so tiring. I'm really hardly against jacket potatoes, particularly the camp jacket potatoes. I don't like if someone made me jacket potatoes at home, I'd be like, yeah, okay. But I feel like it's so hard to get it right. And there's lots of ways that it can go wrong. Like if it's dry, like you're describing, and there's not as much like moisture that's needed.
Like if it's vegan, nah.
I wasn't
You
going
can
there.
do good
I
ones
wasn't
that
going
are
there.
vegan.
I'm sure you
just
can.
the camp ones aren't.
But even just a
yeah.
bit of moisture, just some good vegan dressing or something.
Yeah.
As an example, would be something that would be so beneficial. You a big jacket potato guy, are you?
Yeah, I enjoy him. I
Okay,
enjoy him.
all right.
I don't usually get the corn because I'm a corn hater, but the jacket potato meal I'm happy for.
Do you like peas?
More than corn, less than bacon.
Frozen peas and corn situation. What are you doing in that situation?
If I have, so let's say this is like, what's the classic meal? Sausages, mashed potato, peas and corn.
Yeah.
I am getting a spoon or a fork and I'm doing like a little bit of mashed potato and then like as much peas and corn as I can, and then finishing all of the peas and corn first, and then I just have mashed potato and sausages at the end. I just get them over and done with, smash them down with a little bit of mash, and then have the rest of the meal.
I rate that. I'm always you eat the veggies for worst pasta veggies, whatever first, and you get a good bit at the end. It's the best way to do
That's
it.
just like different veggies.
It's pasta
Good veggies
or
and bad
whatever.
veggies.
Yeah.
I actually really rate that. And if you're in a situation where you have some sauce squeezed onto your plate as well,
Or
minimal
gravy.
sauce.
Gravy
so kind of
with
just
peas and corn goes hard. I rate it.
Yeah, that's just a good take. That's not even a hot take.
Yeah,
that's
no,
just
it's
a really good take.
We diverted a bit there because I answered for some reason. But what are your
I asked
favorite?
you. Yeah, sorry. So because I was interested about the jacket potato. So I really enjoy the schnitzel and chips that is made there, just because I feel like contrasted to jacket potatoes, where it's like hard to do it well and easy to do it poorly. I think that the schnitzel, just in general, as a piece of food, is the opposite. I think it's hard to make a bad schnitzel. It's like maybe difficult to make like a delicious schnitzel, but just like as a general baseline, like
easy to make an okay schnitzel.
Parma, chips, and usually probably peas and corn.
or like the steamed veggies.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just whenever that is, I look forward to that. It's hard to go wrong there.
Yeah.
Joshy?
I reckon highlight for me last year was I think the night you all had butter chicken.
Yeah.
I had like this little chickpea curry, and that was actually so good.
I actually really like chickpeas. Yeah.
No, it was almost like a mix between not dal where it's all like blended up, but it was like you had solid chickpeas. So it was almost like a butter chicken, but with chickpeas instead of a chicken. But it was, and the sauce was so good. I think I had like 3 or 4 helpings.
Drink it, yeah.
I was just going for it, yeah.
Going ham.
Whatever year the butter chicken got added, I'm like so thankful because that's my favorite camp meal. Is the butter chicken. It's so good.
I actually went to a wedding at this venue recently at the campsite venue, and they served us butter chicken at the wedding in the same way the campsite cooks it. And they even made it a bit more fancy. They gave us like a bit of naan bread, bit of coconut yogurt with like the cucumber chopped up finely in it, some poppadoms and things like that. So it's like fancy level up camp food.
Maybe we need to bring that to camp.
I think so. Yeah, a bit of a fancy dinner one night.
I like
it. No arguments on the butter chicken.
Everyone to dress up in like formal clothes.
We used to do a themed dinner.
We used to do a themed dinner.
Costume, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, comment down below.
Planning's not done for 2024.
It's not done.
Yeah.
Comment down below if you want a themed dinner.
Yeah, let us know
like
at the CY Pod. Comment and tell us what theme it should be. Let's throw it out to the audience.
Yeah.
Formal.
Because that could be we get rid of the theme
Superhero.
for the boy girl. Because I think that's what we've been doing recently. Is
true.
themed for the boy
Dress
girls.
as-
You know what? Both.
Double theme.
Double theme.
Or
You got lots of space in your luggage pack, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plenty of
bring
space on
another
the
bag.
buses. Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, that's actually true. There's not much. Okay, bring another backpack that you can put on your lap on the bus.
Yeah, good.
With just your outfits in them.
Can I ask another related question as
Absolutely.
well? How do we feel about the mousse with the chocolate mousse at camp?
So I
Immediate shake of the head from Josh. He's not happy I asked that question.
I can't have it now, but when I could have it,
Even
not a
Can
go.
you have the strawberry one? Or does it have dairy in it? Yeah. I know in my heart that it is
Great way to start the answer.
Not good mousse. But I also can't help but just
it's something nostalgic about
eat it.
Yeah.
And then when there's spares because everyone else hates it, have a few more.
Oh, do you know what I love? Do you know what I love? Just from a I've got to get calories in, I'm so hungry perspective. Whenever there's like a more extended Holy Spirit response time, and the supper barely gets touched because there's no one outside. When they do the muffins and there's leftover chocolate chip muffins,
that's a good call.
I will go out on night patrol
with a plastic bag and shove some in.
Double barrel muffins, just like a muffin in each hand, double parked with muffins. I'll go through like 3 or 4 chocolate chip muffins over the course of night patrol. I love those muffins.
So if you're coming on camp, eat the muffins before Sam does.
Yeah.
Don't, actually.
All right, I see.
Yeah.
All right, Joshy, you know, we've got you as our guest, and people might be like,
camp director.
why is he... Oh, spoilers, but yeah.
I think
why is he here?
intro.
Isn't he just a random dude with a mullet? But no, Josh, you are this year's camp director.
I am.
And I want to ask you, what does that mean?
Yeah. Good question.
Full stop. Yeah. What even is that?
What is a camp director? What's a camp director?
Yeah, so it means basically I'm the one who's a pretty face that everyone looks at and tells them what's going on.
True.
Thanks, Lucky.
That's
yeah,
right.
cheers.
I was
there for it.
Yeah, Sam's building me up. I love your support, Sam.
I already called his hairstyle delicious today. So.
That's true.
Right,
I'm not feeling the love from Lockie tonight. That's all right.
Carry on.
But yeah, basically in the lead up to it, I guess I'm just kind of overseeing the core team. So it's making sure that everyone's on track with games and planning everything that goes into camp, which you would be surprised how much there is to do.
There is a lot.
There is a lot. And I don't think, I've been around CY and camp for a long time. And I've got friends who are on staff and everything. And I don't think I fully realised the extent. I obviously knew so much work into it, but I didn't realise probably how much until this year, and I'm the actual director. So, yeah, I guess it's seeing that that's all happening and is on track. And then, I guess I'm a bit more of the actual closer to camp, lead up to camp and on camp. I probably have a bit more to do with the leaders and making sure that they know what's happening in the leaders' briefings and whatever. But then, I guess on camp, I'll also be, talking to you guys, directing you guys, making sure you know what's going on, what's happening when and where, things like that. So, yeah.
You know how there's the saying that if you wear a high-vis vest and a clipboard and you look confident, you can get into pretty much anywhere. That's the vibe that we hope Josh is going to bring on winter camp. Just walking around with a high-vis vest looking
I now
super
want to make
important.
a request that he actually wears a high-vis vest the entire time.
I think he will.
I was coming back from holidays over Christmas, just after New Year's. And, we'd had a couple of weeks up in New South Wales for Christmas and New Year's. And then I had a couple of nights in Eden with Jordan and her parents. And we drove back down and we stopped in this random country. I have no idea what it's called. And we
Hopefully
had
Australia.
It was in Australia, but I don't know what the town was called. And because her aunt and uncle were coming up to go to where we just left, and so we met her halfway and had lunch. And we were waiting. Got there about 15 minutes before they did. We just walked into this op shop in this random country town. And then, we're walking out. I bought a little bucket hat and different things.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, absolutely. But then walking out, I just see this high-vis jacket on like the rack out the front of a store. And then I look, I open it, and then I'm like, oh, that's an extra large. That's my size. And then I went inside. I was like, "Oh, how much is this?" And they're like, $7.
Oh,
and then I was like,
take my
great,
money.
Here we go. So I went back in after having already bought what I wanted. Bought the high-vis jacket. It's literally this bright orange long sleeve high-vis like shell jacket, and it says Vic Roads on the back as well. So I look like I work for Vic Roads.
He is going to wear that the whole week non-stop.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best.
All right, so if you're watching this, can you guys come up with some meme about Josh and Vic Roads? That would be great.
Yeah. So if
I'm
not
in
in
manual, if that helps.
Yeah.
if I'm not in like an orange or red team where I can actually wear this, I'm going to be a bit sad. But that's
you're
okay.
the director. You can surely just pick the team that you're in.
Yeah, that's true. I'll tell Audrey to put me in that.
Put you in the right team. Yeah.
Yeah. So knowing that every year has a, if you go to camp and you're like, oh, I didn't even know that role existed. Well, I don't know. Pay attention. But also, every year has a camp director, and they put their own little flavor on it usually. So, I actually can't think of an example, but
each
just
camp
trust
director
me.
is kind of different, and it's it's a role that's really important to us as a staff team.
It is,
but
yeah.
it's maybe a role that is less. It could be easy for it not to be obvious if you're a teenager or a young person on the camp, for example. So it's definitely like really involved with the leadership of the team and the leaders, as Joshy was saying. But to the actual young people, it might be easy for the role to sort of sit in the background, and each person, based off their kind of personality, will bring something different to the role as well. So the way that Joshy both looks fantastic with his mullet, but is also gifted as a leader, he'll bring something to this year's camp that we wouldn't have had at last year's camp because the director was different. And that's a really deliberate thing that we choose to do.
And perfect segue, what is that? No, basically, I wanted to ask, like, what is it that you're hoping to bring to winter camp this year that is unique or different, or is there any like initiatives or things like either that the leaders or the youth would notice or see, or is there anything that they have to look forward to based on how you're hoping to kind of have this camp happen as you direct it?
Absolutely. I think probably not a whole lot necessarily explicitly for the youth. I think there's a few things with the games that I kind of want to,
massive game changes. Get ready.
Yeah, get ready. They're gonna be up to a next level. Yeah. I'm so excited. Gemma and Wyatt are leading the games team.
Huge.
And they've in some talks already with them and some good stuff planned.
Do we have a game theme yet?
We do.
Okay.
We do. We
don't spoil it. Actually, I don't know if it'll be spoiled.
Nah, don't spoil it right now.
We won't spoil it right now.
But it's
it is locked in. It's I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
It's it's going to be good. So I think absolutely for games. I think I really just want to have a year and just see God move in the youth and the leaders as well. So I just really hope that we can facilitate a space for that for the youth as well as the leaders, and probably a few more changes for the leaders, which they'll notice when they get on camp. We probably don't need to discuss that now, but
there is a big like camp is, I was gonna say exhausting. That's not really selling it, but it's a big week for youth, but also it's a massive week for leaders, and so knowing if you are a leader or like related to a leader or supporting leaders. Sammy, what does it look like, as Josh was talking about supporting us, what does it look like in terms of how much a leader puts out at camp? Because we know that the camp for youth, we've spoken about the games and all the fun stuff and this kind of thing about it. But like as a leader or as someone coming and supporting camp or if someone's praying for camp, like what does that space kind of look like for a bit more of the, not working class, but, the leaders and those helping.
The working class.
Yeah, sorry.
Really
I feel like I offended some people there. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. I consider myself working class. Yeah, literally. I've got the blue collar right here. It's
really the opposite of a working class, though. Just leading on that. They're paying to come here,
That's
aren't
literally
they?
true.
So,
So it must be very nice, actually. Yeah. To be able to afford that. Yeah. It's a good question. I mean, like, on a purely practical level, like all the young people kind of, again, this is true of any youth ministry environment at all. There's participants in a youth ministry or in a church ministry, but then there's also leaders or servants, quote unquote, in a youth ministry. And the expectation energy-wise, both physically, mentally, emotionally, but also spiritually, is going to look different for the leaders of that environment than it will for the participants of that environment. And I think that is true of camp, but also just like revved up 10,000% in a camp environment, because I don't know, picture yourself we would all know what it's like to be in a situation where we're tired. Even when we were kids and we were tired, we could afford to be tired but not need to be responsible, and we could just be like tired or whatever. But our parents at some point would have had to have a situation where they were also tired, but they were like, I'm the adult here, I need to be responsible and push through my tiredness. And I feel like there's actually just lots of examples of that on camp where the leaders are sleep deprived in the same way the young people are sleep deprived.
Probably more so.
More so, I would argue. Although some of them do know how to pretend to be asleep quite well and stay awake the entire night.
That is true.
And tie shoes to lampposts.
Yeah.
Shout out everyone who's watching.
I'll come back to that later. Yeah.
But we're all kind of experiencing the same sort of, like, you're in a camp, so it's different to your home environment. But then the ask for leaders is like, okay, in the midst of all of that change, now lead spiritually as well at the same time. So the ask is different. So then hence I think the support needs to be different, which is why we're so active in terms of like building a team that supports us in prayer when we go away on the camp. So there's lots of awesome prayerful intercessors at Crossway who are in a WhatsApp chat and just fire prayers off when they get prayer requests all the way throughout the week. It's like it's a big church thing. It's not like the youth ministry doing its own cute little thing over there. Like, this is a really big and significant week of ministry for our whole church community. So it's like parents of the young people praying, supporting, fundraising for people to go on camp, prayer intercessors praying for the young people, all that sort of stuff. Like, we really feel sent by the whole church when we go and do it. So whether, like, whoever's watching, you know a young person, you know a leader, encourage them to register first and foremost by the time this is coming out. Like, get them
Registrations
involved.
are open.
And we could talk endlessly about why camp is important, right? And the difference that it has made in our own walks with Jesus. So we don't need to belabor that, but support is key and crucial, and we need it. So please keep on supporting us.
And for a little bit of a, selfish plug, if there are people listening who want to support in different ways, what's the best way that they can communicate or contact to find out how to do that?
Yeah, you can get in touch with us at Crossway Youth. So any of our social media channels is just at Crossway_youth, or you can email us youth@crossway.org.au. Some of the things that I listed off before are like really, really simple, practical ways that you as a parent or a young person or whoever, if you're not involved in our leadership team directly, can be supporting us. And we need it. We really, really need it. We even notice when we go into environments, even just from like a spiritual perspective, when you go into an environment where you aren't prayed up, for example, or you don't feel prayer support, you notice the difference versus when you go into an environment where you do feel a sense of prayer covering. And so much prayer goes into camp. And so we feel the difference, but we also need the difference as well. It's like, we're a Christian youth ministry. And so to get Christian for a second, we believe that really significant spiritual things happen on camp, and we believe in an enemy who doesn't like that and sees that and wants to put a stop to that. And so there's this spiritual battle that exists kind of over the top of camp, where the enemy sees kind of the gospel taking ground, and we want to pray to counteract that. Like, we want to be at war, and so that's kind of what prayer intercessors are doing. They're grabbing a sword and a shield and standing on behalf of young people. So sorry to get spiritual for a second there, guys. But it's like, there's so many different ways to support. Prayer is one, but it's really significant, and we need it and value it.
Just to add into that. So if people give an idea of like what it looks like for a leader throughout a day, you're going to wake up, you have brekkie, you're straight into a leaders meeting. Then you're into kind of a morning.
What time?
Is that changing? Well, you wake up,
I don't know,
8-ish.
as in like 7:30.
Yeah, 8-ish. 8-ish brekkie, leaders meeting, 9-ish. Then you're into a morning rally. You got games potentially in the morning as well. Then you're into running a small group. You're into lunch. You're into electives. Then you're into muddy games. Then you're a little bit of free time, which a lot of leaders are, rostered on an activity or on the, auditorium and band, whatever it is. So that's not really free time. And the end part of our free time is another leaders meeting. You're going into dinner, then you're going into a night rally. Like, that's for 5 days. So it's a big commitment to be a leader. And as Sam was saying, like, knowing that you've got people praying for you and having that spiritual refreshment yourself is such an important part of it. Like, you can't do this week without Jesus as a leader. And I think it's so important that we have those people around us doing that as well, and giving us that, even just that spiritual energy and refreshment that you get from being in touch with Jesus. So just a little addition onto you saying.
Thanks.
Nah, it's real good. Yeah, and it's one of those things, where for, not even just for leaders, but for youth, it's basically just non-stop. The biggest free time is when you're asleep between, I don't know, probably 1 a.m.
and then really not that much of that either.
Exactly. It's a full-on week. Week, but also like full of really good things.
Yeah.
But speaking of, well, I guess I didn't speak of good. Well, but you mentioned some shoes before.
I did mention some shoes.
There's a bit of a story. Often, and I don't know, viewers, don't get any ideas. We're just going to preface by saying that. But there was some
funny,
pranks.
get some ideas.
There was some pranks done.
If they're funny,
that's a pretty standard
that,
thing. Often by year 12s. That's a kind of tradition. One of them was tying a bunch of shoes to flagpoles around the area. But just in terms of crazy stories, do you guys have any other just crazy stories from, not necessarily the pranks, but like just crazy stories from camps that you can think of that you're like, what? Off the top of your head.
Absolutely.
I know. Have you got one straight
I've
away?
got a couple.
Oh, okay. Kick us off,
Hit us
because
with them,
Sammy
Joshy.
looks like he needs a moment to think.
No, I've got a lot. They're not
Filtering
Crossway
them?
Youth camp stories. So they're just general youth camp stories. But yes, I'm also filtering them because one of them is cooked.
Go, Josh. Go, Josh.
The first one that immediately popped into my mind was back when I was a youth. I don't know, I can't remember what year. But there was this guy who was he might have been your year level, Sam. Bigger bloke. And he basically just had an absolute massive rage quit.
I remember this.
Yeah. And walked into the auditorium and grabbed the worship leader's guitar and just like smashed it on the stage.
My goodness.
Yeah. So that was pretty crazy.
I would probably cry.
Yeah. It was, I think it did turn out later to be staged, and it was like a fake guitar.
It was a stage thing.
Yeah.
It was actually, I remember the story and I remember the guy. It was if you're a big guitar person, it was a fake Cole Clark, which is like a very expensive acoustic guitar brand. And so he grabbed it and smashed it, and the worship, like it was staged, the worship leader was in on it, all that sort of stuff. And so he responded in a way that made everyone think it was like really legit. There was another one of those staged ones, but still, I'm not sure if this is the one you're referring to. There's the second one. They would do announcements at all the rallies and things like that. And part of the announcements was lost property.
Yeah.
This is when I was in youth.
Yeah.
And so people were starting to announce at the start of the week, hey guys, we've had some shoes and phones go missing and things like that. It started off with shoes and but then later in the week there was like, okay, someone's had their phone stolen, someone's had their wallet stolen. We really need people to return this. We really need people to start to give it back.
This serious conversation.
Yeah, this is like not like you've lost your name tag, come and do a moo off on the front of stage. Yeah. It's like this is theft. Like you need to return this. And it got built up to the point that like the pastors were in on it, and the pastors were even like in their messages being like, guys, we need to return these now. This is not, we don't want to have to go more serious than this.
And like call your parents and
call your parents and get like proper people involved and things like that. And then we came to the Wednesday night or the Thursday or something like that. And it was at the start of one of the games, and they were like, everyone come into the auditorium. We need to go into the dining rooms for the start of the game. And we go into the dining rooms, and as we're walking to the dining rooms, we see cop cars parked at the front of the dining rooms. And we go into the dining rooms, and there's 4 police officers in like their vests, like their big vests, standing up the front with the pastors. Yeah. Do you remember this? I think I was in like year 11 or something.
I was year 10,
like
I think. Year 9, year 10,
Yeah. And so we go and sit down, and we're like, oh my gosh, they've got the cops involved. Someone's going to get like arrested, or like something's going to happen here. Like they're going to fess up and people are going to get criminal records. And so we all sit down, and for the longest, it felt like a long time they kept the rules up, but then eventually they were like, the cops were like, gotcha. I remember that visibly. One of the cops went, gotcha, into the microphone in the dining room.
That's horrible.
Think about the level of like...
the stress.
Yeah.
That is
so full on. But big respect to like the level of... I mean, aside from the fact that like the cops were just sitting at a youth camp and like were there more cop related things that they could have been doing on the island? I don't know. Good use of their time.
Possible.
Anyway, separate conversation.
Taxpayer money.
Literally. It was a great prank. I've got one more. Do we have time for a story?
100%, yeah.
Okay, all right. This is a non-youth camp, non-Crossway Youth, but a youth camp related story. I was having this conversation, and this is full on and gross. Okay, just to preface this, but safe for YouTube and things like that. But
don't stop listening.
I was talking to a couple of people I knew our age who had been leaders on a youth camp during the holidays, and they were both cabin leaders of this group of boys, year 8 or something like that, so quite young. And they go in to do a cabin check, cleanliness check one day, and they're like, what's that smell coming from the cabin? Yeah. And they look around everywhere and they can't see anything, like looking under beds and things like that. It's like, it's pretty rank smell. Like they're looking at the carpets, nothing. They open the bathroom. They go into the toilet. The smell is obviously coming from the toilet. They open the toilet bowl, clean, nothing in there.
Okay.
They then go to the upper part of the toilet.
Yep.
Which has the flush button on it. No. And there's like, you know how there's like water in the top there?
Yeah.
Where the water for the flush comes to the top there?
Yeah.
They go open the top.
Oh no.
And it is just filled with number twos in the upper decker part of the water.
That's horrible.
And so I don't know how they balanced. I don't know how they climbed up, but they climbed up, and so the top was filled with number twos. And so every time they would flush the toilet, it would get circulated throughout the system, and so all the toilets around was connected to the same plumbing, and it was all starting to stink. And so they had to come in and like get the campsite and like. Literally, like someone was like actually having to
cops
clean
actually
it.
came
Literally having to clean it out and like fully drain the water to clean and things like that. That was the point of like, this is serious and stupid. But it's just like what even like possessed them to all in their cabin be like, you know what would be funny? If we all did this.
That is I don't
It's just
understand.
disgusting. It's just so... But it's almost like, part of me is like, they've had to be thoughtful about why that would be the case. And generally, I like a thoughtful prank. In that situation, I don't like a thoughtful prank.
That's just gross.
But a shoe prank, like, that's a thoughtful prank because it's like not mean or malicious. It's just inconvenient for lots of people.
Yeah.
And I like an inconvenient, thoughtful prank.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was one more Cook story.
Apologies to, I think it was Rahia or Relema or one of them.
Was cutting all the cable ties.
Yeah, cutting all the cable ties in the morning.
The literal MVP, people out there with the...
She was saving everyone's shoes. So,
yeah.
Have you got any cooked camp stories? Hopefully that's much nicer than what I just said.
Well, it's actually... In the worst way that I can say, it's kind of similar. No, it's different, but you'll see why it's similar when I tell it. The Phillip Island, especially Phillip Island Adventure Resort, is known for a particular type of bird, and that is
I love this.
a goose.
Well, actually, I hate this.
They're big geese.
I hate geese.
Really big, like pink geese, right? They're
it's like
pink.
a bin chicken, but...
They're like pink and grey.
Oh, it's like a bin chicken on roids. It's like a bulking bin chicken. They're massive.
They're seriously big. Anyways, they've been known to startle campgoers, and they're fairly territorial. But one of the things as well is that, and they often, like when we go there, the camp staff tell you always close your doors.
Yeah.
To your cabin.
Don't you dare.
Always close the door to your cabin.
I'm feeling ick right
And people
now.
often go, it's because, you don't want cold air to get in, or so that you don't have like people walk into a random cabin and steal stuff. You don't want to get
having a visceral
But
reaction.
instead there was this one
So
year,
bad.
and I can't remember off the top of my head whose cabin it was, but this person or like this group of people had left their cabin door open and gone out for the day to do the games and the things, and came back at whatever point after lunch or in the evening and went to like step in the room but could not, because there was no carpet anymore. Instead, the ground was just goose droppings. All through the cabin was just goose droppings, in the nicest way that I can say that. Just everywhere.
What do you think it does? Do you think it gets stressed and that's why it does
I don't know. Well, but surely as well, that's
Or
more
is it
than
like,
one.
yummy carpet?
But by the number that it was, from the way that I've heard this story,
have to be
I reckon it was a few
Unwell,
geese.
incontinent
herd
goose
of geese.
or a
Yes.
herd of geese.
Just went in to check stuff out, and like there were a few things that like they'd obviously like
Got
ruffled
into.
around in or whatever.
I found the lollies and...
Yeah, I don't know, but just goose droppings all over the carpet, and they didn't go, they like left the room and went into a different cabin, and they had to obviously like clean out the room and stuff, but it was like
Someone had been spiking the geese with laxatives.
incredibly horrible. Yeah.
Have you seen that video? Have you seen the video? Not the geese video. There's a video on YouTube going around of a guy who has a bunch of chips. And there's a bunch of seagulls at the beach, and he puts these chips and puts a bunch of laxatives in the chips.
So then the seagulls eat them? That's
and
horrible.
there's a video of the seagulls eating them, and then it crops to the video of these seagulls just flying around, and these people on the beach just getting absolutely peppered with seagull droppings.
I mean, not
just
good. That's horrible.
Just
I haven't seen
just
that,
like
but
an
that's
air
funny.
raid. It's so funny. It's just like people looking like up at the sky like this. Like, what the?
All right.
It's so good. A lot of droppings content so far.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
did
Do you
not
want
mean-
another semi-related story? Or
Yeah, give us one more. One more.
This will be quick. So back in year 10 camp, are we naming names or isn't it no longer
Give
a
a
church?
fake name. Give a fake name.
I'll just say this group of year 11 boys.
Okay.
You can probably think who was year level above me.
sure.
And who that could have been. Decided to like silly string and shaving cream our cabin. So, you know, we're year 10. We're like, all right, we got to get revenge. And one of people in my cabin had brought, you know, the liquid spray. Where it stinks.
It's like the fart bomb style, like that.
It is just putrid. Like if you get a whiff of this, like you're done.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh, we should spray this all in their cabin and like over their clothes and stuff. So a couple of us went and
my
did that. One of the things we did was we got tissues and just like sprayed it on the tissues, left it under their beds and things like that. Like their cabin was just inhabitable. Like
that's one more quick one from the thoughtful prank standpoint. I remember that it was my final year of camp, and a bunch of another cabin had bought all these small alarm clocks and wrapped them in tape and set the alarm clocks to go off at random points throughout the night and hidden them in the most, like inside the air conditioner was one, in the toilet was another. Thoughtful. I love it. But one of my mates was so pissed that in the middle of the night it went off and he was like, that's the last straw. And I remember him getting it, throwing it as hard as he could outside, like 3 a.m. in the morning. And he was like, it just screamed to the world, like, who's done this? Because he didn't know whose cabin it was. And so he just shouted to all the cabins, who's done this?
That's good.
Really thoughtful.
Yeah. That one I agree is thoughtful.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. So we
could go on and on.
We could so many stories.
Just the whole pod
coming to mind.
I'm going to cut it and people can ask you in person.
Let us know your favourite camp stories in the comments.
Good call.
One more question before we finish up for today. What are you most looking forward to at camp this year?
Ooh, many things. Like, it can come back to the initial question. Like, it changes each year. Yeah, honestly, for me. Do you have anything straight off the top of your head? You're the camp director.
Like it's all a highlight for me. Like every year, I love.
What a cop out!
Literally every aspect. If I had to say one bit, was just the part that I'm looking forward to most. I reckon I'd have to say the games. I know that's probably not the right spiritual answer, or whatever, but the games is a highlight of camp. So
yeah. I really like the opportunity to, really get to know particularly a bunch of the younger youth and the younger leaders in these environments, because I feel like it is a real awesome positive experience for a bunch of the younger kids, or even kids who are like less connected, because we've heard the term or the phrase 5 days of camp from like a social connection development standpoint is the equivalent of half a year worth of Friday nights. So there's just something about living together 24 hours a day for 5 days that just like cements a bunch of these relationships. And so I'm excited for that from the young people. And then even from the young leaders' perspective, I think it's a real test for them, because they haven't experienced camp from a leader perspective. Going back to the whole, like, we're all tired. Now as a leader, you got to be tired and lead. And it's just different to being tired and surviving. So I think it really challenges a bunch of them, but in a really positive way. Like, you know, when you see someone go through something difficult and then come out the other side a different person, better for it.
Good.
I'm really excited for that in them. So, yeah. How about you?
I'm, as a big music and worship person, for me, I always love the night rallies and the big worship
bangers.
and bangers and safe moshing that
bangers
we do.
And mash.
Bangers
break
and
free.
mosh.
Bangers and mosh.
Bangers and mosh.
That's good.
Not break free this year. But hot take, calling it now. It's official. We've said it on air. You can't change it.
It's not official.
Camp director does not.
Camp director overrules the officialness.
But probably that stuff. Like, I love that vibe and being in that room, and it's awesome. It's
and we are how many days away when this drops from camp? We'll be like 4 months ish.
Yeah.
So
March,
to start, it'll be like
June.
early.
Yeah, like 4 months.
So like 120 days or something, 110 days, something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Not long.
Register.
You can buy, I'm sure we'll be able to pop the link in the YouTube description.
In the description,
even, but also on the website, Crossway Youth. We had our biggest ever camp last year, hoping for even bigger this year.
Absolutely.
We've barely got space, but we want to max them out.
We'll make it work.
Which is why you should register now.
Get locked in early.
But
Get the early bird pricing.
Actually,
That's
do
it.
get the early bird pricing.
That's it.
Save
That's
your
it.
parents a
Not
few
the early
bucks.
goose pricing.
Not
but
the early,
bird
yeah,
pricing.
not the goose.
Don't be a silly goose.
Don't be
with droppings all over your face and
Be
register.
a
for
silly
camp.
goose if you didn't register now.
You would be.
Yeah.
And
That's what I
that's
heard. Yeah.
unfortunate.
It's official. It's from the camp director. Yeah.
Anyways,
Don't be a silly goose.
that's this year's
That
thing.
should be the title of this episode. Don't be a silly
Don't
goose.
be a silly
Don't be a
goose.
silly goose. There you go.
I'll consider it. Thanks for joining us, Joshy. It was good
My
to have
pleasure.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Josh.
having me on.
It's going to be a good one. If you are a youth at Crossway Youth, or even, I guess, not at Crossway Youth, come along. If you are a friend or a parent, support us, contact us. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely, we would. And we'll be back with our next episode in not too long.
And we'll see you then. In the meantime,
Don't be a silly goose.
I didn't have a tagline or anything, so don't be a silly goose.
Peace out.
See you then.